चक्षुषा पश्यति कश्चनैनं हृदा मनीषा मनसा विकल्पतो यानि तद्विदूर्मृतास्ते भवन्ति यदा पञ्चावतिष्ठन्ते ज्ञानानि मनसा सह बुद्धिश्च न विचेष्टति तामाहु परमां गतिम् यदा सर्वे प्रभिद्यन्ते हृदयस्येह ग्रन्थयः अथ मृत्युरमृतो
A large luster lit the mighty page. A purpose mingled with the whims of time. A meaning met the stumbling pace of chance, and fate revealed a chain of seeing will. A conscious wideness filled the old dumb space. In the void he saw throned the omniscience supreme.
न चक्षुषा पश्यति कश्चनैनं हृदा मनीषा मनसा विकल्पतो यायैतद्विदूर्मृतास्ते भवन्ति यदा पञ्चावतिष्ठन्ते ज्ञानानि मनसा सह बुद्धिश्च न विचेष्टति तामाहु परमां गतिम् यदा सर्वे प्रभिद्यन्ते हृदयस्येह ग्रन्थयः अथ मृत्युरमृतो भवत्येतावाख्यनुशासनम्.
a will, a hope immense now seized his heart, and to discern the superhuman's form, he raised his eyes to unseen spiritual heights, aspiring to bring down a greater world.
Good morning and welcome. We're reading the third of the cantos that are describing King Aswapati and his spiritual realization. We were just in the recording hearing Mother describe a few lines in which, this is just from the previous reading, that there's kind of a change in Aswapati's realization. And in the beginning, he has this kind of personal, individual realization of the two sides of the divine, the passive spirit and the active, dynamic nature. So he has this great individual realization, but now he wants to bring that down to the world. As the Mother was reading, he raised his eyes to unseen spiritual heights, aspiring to bring down a greater world. And in a few lines down from that, Sri Aurobindo writes, "The ideal must be nature's common truth, the body illumined with the indwelling God. The heart and mind feel one with all that is. A conscious soul live in a conscious world." So that is kind of the turning point that comes in this canto for Aswapati. Now we come to page 83 at the break. And first we're going to read through this last part of the canto once we haven't read through yet. So we'll read through and then we'll go back to comment on particular passages. But we will see in this section kind of his vision on the heights of the spiritual mind and his uncovering of the secrets by which nature is created, is brought out into play by nature, by the Mother. But now all of these powers are entering into his ken, into his ability to control. So we can begin. I think maybe we'll start on this side. Would you like to begin at the break?
All was uncovered to his sea-less eyes, a secret nature stripped of her defense, once penetrated half-light formidable, overtaken in her mighty privacy, lay bare to the burning splendor of his belly, in shadowy chambers lit by a strange sun, and opening hardly to seek mystic peace, her barriers arcane and hooded powers confessed the advent of a mastering mind and bore the compulsion of a time-born being, incalculable in their wizard modes, immediate and invincible in the act. Her sacred strains native to greater worlds, lifted above our limited scope, the occult privilege of demigods, and the sure power pattern of her cryptic science, her diagrams of geometric force, her potencies of marble fraught designs, coated employment by an art nerd's mind, a conscious nature's quick machinery, armed with the latent splendor of miracles, the prophet fashion of a seeing mind, and the lightning bareness of a free soul force. All once impossible things could now become a natural limb of possibility, a new domain of normalcy supreme.
Thank you. Let's pause. Poonam, would you like to continue? 84.
And Almighty offered this direct in spirit, the feeling afterward was wished to perform. He leads with hidden health of consciousness, reveals bodies for his shielded energy, out of the unborn and waking loss. He has made this sorcery of solid energy, with magic of commutative number and horizon. The fifth irrational link, none can unknown, is crisscross envelope of invisible walls. His infallibility is covered properties, achieved unending and inexplicable. Creation where our average hearts get free of knowledge for living ignorance. In her mysterious looks, flatters from the mirror's walls, she too, as sovereignly, makes her healing. However, she will be undetermined loss, making a finite of infinity. She too creates an order of herself, as if her rash before visual outward, the very creator's cosmic sorcery. The rapid footsteps of her fantasy, whose falls wonder of knowledge are still going, statutory and swiftly and imagination.
Thank you. Sudanya? Thank you. Shravan? Page 85, about a third of the way down, this giant ignorance. Thank you. Would you read, please? Okay, thank you. Margaret? Thank you. Netya? Paul?
A giant order was discovered here, of which the castle and extended fringe are the scant stuff of our material lives. This overt universe, whose figures hide the secrets merged in subconscious life, wrote clear the letters of its glowing code. A map of subtle signs surpassing thought was hung upon a wall of inmost mind, illumining the world's concrete images into significant symbols by its laws. It offered to the intuitive exegete its reflex of the eternal mystery, ascending and descending to its life's poles, the storied kingdoms of the great law plunged from the everlasting into time. Then, glad of a glory of multitudinous mind, and rich with life's adventure and delight, and packed with the beauty of matter's shapes and hues, flying back from time into undying self, up a golden ladder carrying the soul, tying with diamond threads the spirit's dreams.
Thank you. Helmut, would you read? Thank you. Charlotte?
took the striking undertone in mind and took the confused refrain with newer voice and made them of the sweet and happy joy. They lifted toward fundamental pain and the articulate murmurs of our lives. They found it again inimitable.
Thank you. Tinnika? Thank you. Praveen? Thank you. So now we go back to page 83 at the break. Anturia, you begin. Thank you. All was uncovered to his sealess eye. Aswapati is able to look behind the surfaces of nature to a secret nature in which he builds these forms that we see in the outer world. So he goes into the occult realms of nature in shadowy chambers lit by a strange sun, and opening hardly to hid mystic keys, her perilous arcanes and hooded powers confess the advent of a mastering mind. When I looked up this word arcanes, it was interesting that it's normally an adjective, but here it's used as a noun. But it's kind of a secret known only to those with the key. a secret that would be only known to those who have the key. So he has the key to these hidden powers by which things are created in nature. And the processes are incalculable in their wizard modes. Kind of magical processes almost by which things are created. And he's going to describe that process kind of in more detail. How this kind of hidden nature is able to pull this kind of magical universe off in some way. She has secret strengths native to greater worlds. So in the higher worlds, there are these more powerful forces which are the occult privilege of demigods. But also, she has these power patterns of her cryptic signs, her diagrams of geometric force, her potencies of marvel-fraught design. So she uses these kind of formulas also in the creation.
The last sentence is what's very interesting.
Courted
employment by an earth-nursed might.
So all of these forces are entering into Aswapati's sight and vision and control. He saw unpathed, unwalled his Titan scope. So we had seen, in a way, in the secret knowledge, how there was these two sides of existence, the soul and nature, and their play and interaction with one another. But here, the soul and cosmos faced as equal powers. So he's seeing the powers of the universe and how it's created, but his soul is kind of commensurate with that and is able to meet that and take that into his control. exactly, Jew, that term?
Conscious natures.
Yes.
Conscious nature's quick machinery, armed with the latent splendor of a miracle, the prophet passion of a seeing mind, and the lightning bareness of a free soul force, all once impossible being could now become a natural limb of possibilities, a new domain of normalcy supreme. An almighty occultist erects in space this seeming outward world which tricks the sense. He weaves his hidden threads of consciousness. He builds bodies for his shapeless energy. Out of the unformed and vacant vast, he has made his sorcery of solid images, his magic of formative number and design, the fixed irrational links none can annul, this crisscross tangle of invisible laws. His infallible rules, his covered processes, achieve unerringly an inexplicable creation where our error carves dead frames of knowledge for a living ignorance.
Thank you. Let's pause. So he begins here with this line, a conscious nature's quick machinery. So normally we think of nature as kind of a mechanical unfolding of things according to certain laws. But here this is a conscious nature, so it seems to be more the Shakti, the Divine Mother above. But using this machinery.
And how interactive nature is, no?
Interactive with?
Well, it's like depending on the consciousness that's observing it, it can pop out things, no? Look at what we have done with nature. It's interactive.
Yes. Yeah.
Depending on, like we said here, a latent splendor of a miracle, the prophet passion of a seeing mind. So if you have that, the prophet looks forward in the future. So anyone who has that can create something out of this nature. That is why evolution keeps on going.
So maybe that's part of that interaction of the soul and nature.
Yes, spirit and matter are two aspects of the same thing. Yes. So this is the machinery of spirit.
The prophet passion of a seeing mind and the lightning bareness of a free soul force. That soul force ultimately is free. It's above the constraints of nature, and it can utilize those laws of nature for its own purposes.
Yes. It has to be free, no?
So now, with that freedom, all once impossible deemed could now become a natural limb of possibility. What seemed impossible can be possible with the freedom of the soul behind.
But you have to go beyond the limiting forces that are always in the negative. No?
Yeah. And now he begins with something that's so he's with the soul force, you can change the laws of nature, you can overcome kind of the constraints of nature so that they become possible, and they can even become a new domain of normal activity, but a higher, kind of at a higher level. I mean, even like you were saying, kind of at our normal level of mind, the use of our soul at this kind of mental level, we can master certain forces of nature. We can master electricity, electromagnetic waves, so that we can project this talk, across the world instantaneously. So that becomes now a new domain of normalcy, supreme over what was there just a few decades ago. But in the next line, he brings out something interesting, which is continued in the next passage. But here he talks about an almighty occultist erects in space the seeming outward world which tricks the sense. He weaves. So now he uses this masculine pronoun for this almighty occultist. So here he seems to be perhaps referring to the soul. He refers to the soul as he. In the previous canto, he and she, he would refer to the soul and nature. So this almighty occultist apparently is the soul. He erects this seeming outward world. He weaves his hidden threads of consciousness. He builds bodies for his shapeless energy. Out of the unformed and vacant vast, he has made his sorcery of solid images. So he's kind of creating out of this, out of the spirit, let's say, out of his shapeless energy, out of his threads of consciousness. So he has created his sorcery of solid images. These images are really kind of a magic of something, and they're not really solid, but they appear to us solid. apparently there is more space between the particles of.
It's felt solid.
Yeah, it feels solid, but when you look with a electron microscope, it's not solid anymore. And then in that creation of these seemingly solid things, he's using this magic of formative number and design. And fixed irrational links, which none can annul, this crisscross tangle of invisible laws, his infallible rules, his covered processes, achieve unerringly an inexplicable creation where our air carves dead frames of knowledge for a living ignorance. It's a very curious, interesting passage. That's you and me.
Our error.
So normally, we misinterpret everything. We kind of create a construction of reality with our minds. So these are our dead frames of knowledge by which we understand the world for a living ignorance. Yeah, I think he's using kind of contradictions here as a way of describing this magic. And he's going to describe the magic further and kind of uncover how this is done. But these links are fixed. They're set somehow, and we can't change those links.
No, you can change it, but you
Well,
cannot annul it. That's the whole idea of the Sat in Satchitananda, the being. It's not nothingness. It's something there,
Okay.
but you cannot annul it. But it's irrational, It's inexplicable,
Yeah. Well, I was saying that it refers to the soul as opposed to nature. In the last canto, in the Secret Knowledge, he refers continually to he and she. And he is the soul. He is the transcendent one. He is the spirit. She is his force, acting and creating all of this. She is nature. So here he's talking about he, the soul, bringing into being out of the spirit. He builds bodies for his shapeless energy. So he's referring to he, but also a kind of in a dynamic way here. On the summits, he and she are one. The Ishvara and Shakti contain each other. In the lower levels, they're kind of more separate. They act separately. But now he's kind of referring, kind of more emphasizing this soul aspect more, but still he is also kind of dynamic at this level. And in the next passage, to which we come next, he talks about she. So we can continue from there. Madam, I forget your name. Moshumi. Moshumi. Okay. Would you like to continue? In her mysteries moods, right at. Okay.
In her mysteries moods, divorced from the Maker's laws, she too, as sovereignly takes her field, her will shaping the undetermined past, making a finite of infinity. She too can make an order of her captives, as if her rash super wages to outburn the vain creator's cosmic secrecy. The rapid footsteps of her fantasy, amid whose false wonders like Saul's rhymes, are surer than wisdom, gifted than device, and swifter than imagination's wings. All she knew fashions by the thought and want, compels all substance by her hand of mind. Mind is a mediator divinity. Its powers can undo all nature's work. Mind can suspend or change art's concrete law. Affranchised on art habits grounding, the leaden grip of matter is embraced. Indifferent to the angry sphere of death, it can immortalize a moment's work. A simple fiat of its thinking force, the casual pressure of its life ascent, can liberate the energy dumped and pain within its chambers of mysterious trance. It makes the body sleep a quiescent arm, holds still the breath, the beatings of the heart, while the unseen is found, the impossible done, communicates without lips the unspoken thought. It moves events by its bare, silent will, acts at a distance without hands or feet.
Thank you. Let's pause. So here Sri Aurobindo begins talking about this other creator, nature. In her mysteries, moods divorced from the Maker's laws, she too as sovereignly creates her field. Her will shaping the undetermined vast, making a finite of infinity. So she seems almost here to be like another almost lower level creator from this ultimate creator, from the soul, the Ishvara, let's say. It means kind of almost in a competition, she goes ahead. To what? Outlive? No, not outlive, but to, yeah, something like that, outrun. To go beyond. So she shapes, puts into shape what is undetermined, the vast, what's kind of latent, she brings out into form. With her will, making a finite of infinity. So she creates these kind of finite shapes and bodies and forms for the infinite, of the infinite, out of the infinite.
And one diverse from the Maker's Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting line. Maybe from divorced from somehow the oneness of being. Like there are all levels of creators, let's say. Right? From the highest creator, which he refers to as he here, all the way down to you and me create things. So at each level, there is an ability to create. But here, we create divorced from the supreme creators, from that oneness of vision. We create kind of blindly, ignorantly. So she too creates blindly. Nature has her lower levels also.
But she is noted there as also a sovereign. No? She too is sovereignly. So as she is the counterpart of that sovereign too. No?
Yes, she has that kind of also absolute power in a sense to do. Yeah, we have to go beyond in order to control the lower laws, the lower processes. We have to be above them in some way. So her ways, yes, they're beyond reason, defter than device, swifter than imagination's wings. And then it says, all she knew fashions by the thought and word, compels all substance by her wand of mind. And here he begins talking about how she utilizes mind in order to create. Mind is a mediator divinity. So this is kind of coming down to this level of mind to create. And it has fantastic powers over nature, as he describes. Its powers can undo all nature's work. Mind can suspend or change earth's concrete law. Often in the yoga we denigrate mind, something to throw away, get rid of.
We cannot, because the asuras and the devas are at that level where they created even the lower worlds. This is the pinnacle of mind is using.
So it has these great powers, as he describes. It can break this leaden grip of matter. Be indifferent to the angry stare of death. And then, even a simple fiat of its thinking force, the casual pressure of its slight assent, can liberate the energy, dumb and pent, within its chambers of mysterious trance. So I think its chambers, I think he's referring to matter here. This still referring back to this leaden grip of matter. Within its chambers of mysterious trance, matter is like a substance in a mysterious trance. It's holding within itself all these powers. And this mind can liberate them.
We call it tamas. No? The tamas.
Or we also call it involution, right? Everything is involved within matter. And mind can kind of unlock those seals, and liberate the possibilities that are there.
How many nuclear bombs have they already exploded?
You see the power hidden in matter. It makes the body sleep a puissant arm, holds still the breath, the beatings of the heart, while the unseen is found, the impossible done. So even the yogi can control the breath, stop the beatings of the heart, and be doing these miraculous kinds of works or attaining realizations.
Then does this mind represent the conscious force of the Supreme?
You could say that, but I don't know if it's a little bit lower than the Supreme, perhaps. But ultimately it is. But it, at this point, may not be conscious of the Supreme within it.
We can say it's a less conscious stage, less consciousness, in the distortion of consciousness.
But yes, I mean, ultimately, all of nature is the action, the power of the Supreme. So ultimately, it goes back to Him. That's where He and She are one. But again, there are all these different levels of this relationship between He and She. One where they're transparent to each other. But on lower levels, they're not transparent anymore. Here he was talking about where her forces are divorced from the Maker, from the Maker's force. But even then, still very powerful at the heights. Huh. But I would add to that there are many levels of mind. And normally, our kind of mechanical mind and our mind that is so influenced by the vital nature and the physical being, so that it's not clear, or, all of those kinds of limitations of mind that the ordinary human mind has are not necessarily there on the heights of mind, in the kind of the heights in which he's describing here. Because here he's talking, it can undo all nature's work. I mean, so it can almost be, at the, this is a higher mind. Our normal human mind can't do these things that he's describing here. And our normal human mind, it is great in a certain way, but also it's very limited. This also may have limitations. It also, may not be completely open to the infinite and that, but on its heights, it eventually transforms or goes into supermind. I mean, at its height, it blends into supermind. So it also is a way, we can traverse through all these layers of mind to the Supreme, to the divine supermind. I think we've run out of time. So,
But that next one line is very interesting. No?
what's that?
This giant ignorance,
Hmm?
this dwarfish light. Anyway,
It can illumine. This mind can illuminate this life. So I think we end there for today.
सन्दृशे तिष्ठति रूपमस्य न चक्षुषा पश्यति कश्चनैनं हृदा मनीषा मनसा विकल्पितो यानि तद्विदूरमृतास्ते भवन्ति यदा पञ्चावतिष्ठन्ते ज्ञानानि मनसा सह बुद्धिश्च न विचेष्टति तामाहु परमां गतिम् यदा सर्वे प्रभिद्यन्ते हृदयस्येह ग्रन्थयः अथ मृत्युरमृतो
A large luster lit the mighty page. A purpose mingled with the whims of time. A meaning met the stumbling pace of chance, and fate revealed a chain of seeing will. A conscious wideness filled the old dumb space. In the void he saw throned the omniscience supreme.
सन्दृशे तिष्ठति रूपमस्य न चक्षुषा पश्यति कश्चनैनं हृदा मनीषा मनसा विकल्पितो यायैतद्विदूरमृतास्ते भवन्ति यदा पञ्चावतिष्ठन्ते ज्ञानानि मनसा सह बुद्धिश्च न विचेष्टति तामाहु परं यदा सर्वे प्रभिद्यन्ते हृदयस्येह ग्रन्थयः अथ मृत्युरमृतो भवत्येतावाख्यं शासनम्
Thanks to Sri Aurobindo.